Alright guys, listen, we're going to go fast, so I need you to pay close attention. I need you to write down everything that I write down on the board. And if you hear me say something that I don't write down on the board and it seems important, write that down anyway, even though I didn't write it on the board. So, again, the topic, on balance, economic sanctions are reducing the threat Russia poses to the West. This little chunk of lecture we're going to do is going to be about definitions and framework angles on this topic. I understand you don't have the background information you need. You'll have to pick that up as we go along. Ivan, why is your pencil not in your hand? Your hand is useless to me, and your body and your brain as well, if you are not doing basic things. Sit up. Okay. So on balance, economic sanctions are reducing the threat Russia poses to the West. You can break this into this many chunks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This one, we don't really need to worry about. I don't think the poses verb is going to be something that people fight about a lot, but potentially somebody could quibble over the definition of poses, I suppose. But the definitions we want to talk about first are the obvious ones we need to lock down. Economic sanctions. We have a good definition right here on the board. We got it from a compilation of a couple definitions on the internet. And it says unilateral trade barriers / restrictions to alter strategic positions are economic sanctions. And what does that functionally mean? It means we're not going to trade with you anymore. Hey Russia, since you attacked Syria, we're not going to trade with you anymore.
What's Syria?
Not Syria, I'm sorry. Since you attacked Ukraine, stop. Shh. Ivan, I do not want to hear your voice. You're going to be out of this classroom. I can't tolerate it. It is interrupting what I'm doing. Your voice is not contributing to anyone's learning. Mine is. Now look, this means we won't buy and sell anymore with you. We are the West. We will not buy and sell anymore. We used to buy this kind of nail or bolt that we use in our manufacturing process from you, Russia. Now we won't buy it from you. We're going to find somebody who's not Russia to sell it to us. That is economic sanctions. We will start selling and buying with you again, Russia, if you stop doing X. That's to alter strategic positions. So usually you're trying to force Russia to change its behavior in some specific way. What is the main guiding reason why we have economic sanctions against Russia?
Because they attacked sometime.
Who did they attack? They attacked Ukraine. That's the one that started the current economic sanctions that are sort of expiring, okay? Now, those are the ones against Russia. Economic sanctions against Russia. It's important to understand that Russia is not a single entity. Russia is comprised, its economy is comprised of sectors. Sectors of the Russian economy that matter for our purposes are arms, oil, finance, food. That's it, really. That's the only thing that matters to us. Now, the threat. What threat does Russia pose to the West? Does Russia pose a threat? Well, that's an issue we're going to talk about in the framework angle. Assuming they do pose a threat, the threat is twofold at least. One threat they pose is militarily. They definitely posed a threat to Ukraine. They posed and followed through upon and executed a threat upon Ukraine. So they attack people sometimes. They attack Western allies. Sometime in the 1990s, Ukraine gave up their nuclear weapons. In the 1990s, Ukraine gave up their nuclear weapons. When they did so, they said, now, hey, America, USA, whomever else, you say, you say, okay, well, we'll take your nuclear weapons, but will you protect us if Russia attacks? Wanted to join NATO. Ukraine wanted to join NATO. NATO stands for the North Atlantic. North Atlantic.
50.
Can you scoot over one seat then?
Okay.
Because you're blocking. Got it. Thank you. Alright. They wanted to join NATO. NATO stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. This is the West, okay? Look, for the purposes of our debate and for the purposes of things in general, the West equals NATO equals EU plus US plus Canada and a couple other countries. This is all the West. NATO is the West's European-centric military treaty thing. EU, the European Union. What does the EU stand for, Claire? You speak truth. What is one way that Russia threatens the West, Matthew?
The military.
Okay, so what does Russia threatening the West look like then?
They attack the Western allies.
And which Western ally in particular did they attack?
The Ukraine.
The Ukraine. In fact, they took over part of the Ukraine. They took over Crimea. The one you need to know about, okay? But there's also two cities, Donetsk and Luhansk.
How do you spell Donetsk?
D-O-N-E-T-S-K. D-O-N-E-T-S-K. Donetsk. And Luhansk is L-U-H-A-N-S-K. Luhansk. And they took that over. So that is a threat to Western interests. The fact that they took over Ukraine, does that mean that they're all done taking stuff over? Maybe, in which case, maybe they are no longer posing that threat. They didn't take over all of Ukraine, by the way. They just took over a couple little parts of it that they wanted. So, if they did, stop playing with that. That's annoying. If they did take over Crimea, they wanted Crimea, they wanted Luhansk, they wanted Donetsk. Keep in mind, the parts of Ukraine that are now in Russian hands had largely Russian populations. So they had people that lived in those places that favored with Russia anyway. Okay, do we have any other definitions we need to go over? I put down economic sanctions to threaten the West. We understand the West refers to a group of countries that you might consider Western democracies. So, free democracies, liberal democracies. Liberal democracy is not referring to liberal like in the sense of, oh, he's a liberal, he's a conservative. It means free and open societies. Free societies. Is Russia such a society? No, not really. It's somewhere in between, okay? Russia is run by, let's define Russia while we're here. Russia is defined, you can consider it, for our purposes, the main thing you need to know is it's an oligarchy / dictatorship. And you can also say it's a kleptocracy. A kleptocracy is a kind of oligarchy where a few powerful rich people run the country and basically take all the money. Okay? So in Russia, you've got some very specific people who are in Putin's inner circle, and they might own the Bank of Russia. And the Bank of Russia does all the business. They have a monopoly and blah, 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 blah. Okay? So that's the reality of the Russian government, is that it's not a democracy. And Putin has been in office for quite a while now, and he's the leader of the Russian government. So when we think Russia, I want you to think
Putin.
Vladimir Putin. Now, Vladimir Putin's quite a little character, I'll tell you. He's quite the character. If you Google him, you'll see pictures of him riding around on horses without a shirt on and stuff like that. He's a world leader who likes to show off how manly he is, right? So he'll have these photo shoots where he's like running around but he has no shirt on. And he thinks he makes him look like cool or something. But of course it just makes him look ridiculous. But that's not the point. The point is, we covered the definitions, we covered the first chunk. That's it for this little chunk. Okay, that's chunk one.
How do you
Oh, right at 10 minutes exactly.